game. What do the Niners need most at the deadline, Jesse? What do you think?
I mean, well, what they need most, they're not going to get, which is a right tackle. Like, you're just not going to get one.
You're not like in McKivitz.
No,
He graded.
no.
DeMarcus Lawrence didn't do anything against him, and I think he only gave up one pressure in the Browns game. You just think he's not good enough, needs to be upgraded.
I mean, okay. Let's say he's playing decent, like better than what we maybe expected going into the season. Let's say that that's the case, which I don't necessarily think that is the case, but let's say that is the case.
Yeah.
He's still the weak link on this offense. Like if you go through the offensive players all the way through and you get down to McKivitz, it's like McKivitz or Burford, which one? And Burford is much younger, still has a ton of career ahead of him. McKivitz would be like the weak link, unfortunately. Now, when you get to the defensive side and you compare McKivitz as a player at his position compared to everybody on defense, he would be the weak link there probably too. So, yeah, I mean, I would say that McKivitz would be the one, but likely you're not going to get that at the trade deadline. Maybe, but most likely you're not. They already addressed pass rusher, although if a guy like Danielle Hunter's out there or Chase Young, I mean, you might want to kick the tires on those guys as well. They're a level above of what they got in Gregory, but I think ultimately corner's where it's at. And it's not even like, yes, it would be nice to have Demo kick inside or maybe just bring somebody in that's a natural nickel themselves that can kick inside and keep Demo outside. He's been playing great football out there, but it's just the depth overall. And there's some players that I like on this team, like Womack, Luter, we'll see what he ends up being. But if those starters go down, can you really rely on one of those other players? I don't know. I don't know yet. I mean, I think long term, maybe, but right now, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. You think about it. If you look at their secondary on paper and you look at the first three guys, and you're like, okay, first three guys are pretty good, but then when you get to the guys behind those guys, so you got Mooney Ward, you got Demo Lenore, Isaiah Oliver. Oliver, by the way, limited in practice, just running up and down today. He was running fast, but he was just running. And then after that's your starting three, okay? And all of a sudden, if one guy goes down, you got these are the rest of your guys. Ambry Thomas, you don't know what you're getting from Womack. He's on the IR. He's set to return at some point. Darrell Luter's on the PUP list. He hasn't played at all. He's a major talent. I'll tell you that. I mean, I've seen him practice. He's a major talent. Long arms, really suffocating, very athletic. He's also who knows what he's going to be, right? He's a rookie, and he played at South Alabama for the Jaguars. So we don't know. We don't know what he's going to do. They have Kendall Sheffield, who runs exceptionally fast, the former Buckeye, and they've got Shamar Jean Charles. And that's their cornerback group. So, I mean, they're leaning on, a full-time role for, Ambry Thomas or Anthony Brown if they have any injuries. I just think corner is clearly the number one need. Sean Murphy Bunting would make a lot of sense from Tennessee if you could get him out of Tennessee. Played at Tampa. I think that one makes a lot of sense. Jalen Johnson would be great, but would you be willing to trade your second round pick? Because it sounds like other teams are willing to trade their third round pick. So if you're the 49ers, you're going to jump those other teams because you're better than them. You got to offer your second. Would you give next year's second for Jalen Johnson?
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would because they have multiple fourths, they have multiple thirds. Like they got their first round pick back. Jalen Johnson, I mean, we were talking about Patrick Surtain, and that would likely be, I mean, maybe multiple first round picks. I'm not trying to make the point that Johnson and Surtain are on the same level, but the gap of 2 first round picks to a second round pick, the gap in talent is not that big or that significant. So yeah, if second round pick, yes.
So you agree that that's like a primary need, the corner over other needs. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Niners do a few things. Like if they could get like a Zach Ertz and give themselves another tight end, man, I would be interested in that. If they could, there's been talk about Kendrick Bourne, there's an article where out of New England, I believe, saying that the Patriots may shop Kendrick Bourne, and the Niners are speculated. Does Bourne excite you? To me, if the Niners are going to add a receiver, they need to add a somebody who's a complementary part.
Mhm.
And I just think Bourne, I'd rather take a look at Tay Martin and see what Tay Martin's got, or play Willie Snead. Not that Bourne's not better than them; he's better than them. But these guys are in house and been with you all year. They don't cost as much. I don't know. And some people have a high opinion of Bourne. What do you think?
I like Kendrick Bourne, and I was sad to see him go, but no, I mean, that's not what they need. That's not what they need right now. I would rather give Bell some opportunity, Ray some opportunity. I'm fine with the receiving room right now. It's already pretty deep as is, and Bourne is, he's a nice piece, but they don't need Kendrick Bourne. No.
When it comes to the edge rusher, you can never have enough. It's like baseball is like starting pitching. You can never have enough starting pitching. In football, it's totally, pass rushers and edge rush, I think. Watching the 49ers win in the 80s, it just seemed like every time they needed another edge guy, they added another edge guy, and they just always prioritized it. And obviously, they still do largely, right? This team's traded for Jordan Willis. They've traded for Charles Omenihu. They just traded for Randy Gregory. Let's talk about edge rush. Do they need another edge rusher? And, there's the real and the fake, or real and kind of fantasy. I mean, the fantasy is to me Brian Burns or Danielle Hunter. I just think those seem like fantasy options. To me,
You think
more
Danielle Hunter's a fantasy? I agree with you on Burns. I don't know if Danielle Hunter is a fantasy. I think
you
that
think
he
so?
might
You
get
think he's going
moved.
to? What do
Yeah,
you think? What
man.
do you think it's going to cost for him? He leads the league in sacks.
I don't think it'll cost as much as what people think.
And also he makes a lot of money. You're talking
He
about $17
does.
million.
He does, but
They want to
Larry,
roll over a bunch. That's not rolling over a bunch if you get Danielle, right? I mean, at least that.
it's still rolling over quite a bit, because at this point in the season, and what Minnesota still has to eat, I mean, I think their dead cap is still around like 9.5 million of that. So it's actually not that bad. He's a free agent at the end of the year. He's 30 plus. I actually think that he could be had for around a third round pick. And I was talking to a Minnesota Vikings content creator this afternoon on my Behind Enemy Lines show, and he agreed. He's like, listen, I think there's been a lot of talk here about Danielle Hunter. And if they lose this game to the 49ers, and especially if they lose the following week to the Packers, that there's a great chance he's going to get moved. And the team that keeps coming up in our circle is the 49ers, oddly enough.
It'd be awesome if they made that trade like Saturday night.
Like before the game, and he just like flip sidelines.
I mean, seriously, this guy could end everybody's season. He's playing at that high of a level on this surface against Trent Williams with a bum ankle.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that Danielle Hunter couldn't catch the corner and burn the edge and throw Brock Purdy down on that rock hard surface and be like, and all of a sudden it's Sam Darnold's era? I think the one thing about Hunter is he's really, really special. I don't know. I think they would go for a cheaper guy. I was thinking like Arden Key from Tennessee. They know him. They also the other guy who I was thinking of outside of Arden Key. Oh, Josh Uche from the Patriots.
Okay.
They've done deals with and he's fast off the edge. He's young. I know he's a little dinged up right now, but I was thinking cheaper options. But you're thinking that's realistic. You think that's not fantasy, that Burns or somebody like Hunter could possibly come here? Because I mean, that would be.
I don't think Burns is
amazing.
realistic. I don't think
so.
Burns is. I think that one's. I agree with you. I think that one's a complete fantasy pipe dream.
But a lot of people. I mean, Danielle Hunter would absolutely be incredible. I was listening to Tim Ryan say today he's shredded like salad.
He is though, man. He is that dude.
Like, man, there's no doubt Danielle Hunter is having a ridiculous year. And to me, that's my only real concern about the game Monday night is Danielle Hunter on that surface. And if I were the Niners, I would treat Danielle Hunter the way teams are treating Bosa. Put a guy on that side of the formation and just make him beat two guys and keep hitting them from weird angles and make him have a head on a swivel, and just don't let him get into a pass rush flow. Try to block, chip him. Just put a guy over there and give him 2-on-1. See, I mean, make him beat a combo block. I think that's That's what teams are doing to Bosa at times.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think they got to have a game plan to get the ball out of Brock's hands quickly. It's not going to be as bad as last week because Danielle Hunter is only one person, and that defensive line altogether is not near what the Browns is. But I do think that Danielle Hunter certainly can wreck a game for sure. And that's the other part of this, right? Is I'm curious to see because the 49ers are likely going to get somebody. I don't know who, if it's even anybody on this list that we talked about, but most of these guys that we've talked about are going to get moved. Which contenders are going to make moves for them? And what is a scary place? I mean, imagine I talked about Seattle earlier, and I said, the Seahawks, they can do in the secondary a lot of what the Browns did, but they don't really have a pass rush that way. What if they traded for Danielle Hunter? All of a sudden, that is a team that their defense worries me, and you've got to play them twice. If Danielle Hunter goes to the Chiefs or something like that, that's you're adding him to an already pretty good defense. You got Patrick Mahomes and everybody over there. You got it. Now that's something you got to play in the Super Bowl. So we got to really pay attention not only to the 49ers, but where do these guys go if they are moved at the deadline? Which contenders are they going to, and how does that impact the 49ers?
The one I'm waiting on to see if it happens is Budda Baker to the Eagles.
Oh, God, please, no.
I just think Arizona's going to move Budda Baker. I think
you think so.
The Eagles don't have. I mean, the Eagles secondary needs help, and they don't have Avonte Maddox. They've moved off of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and I just think they need an impact guy. I think that Jeremy Chin was going there until he got hurt. I could see the Eagles making a big play for Budda Baker. Budda Baker is a great player.
He really
player. I could see them. I could see them trying to add Budda Baker. Kansas City, will they try to go for like a Mike Evans or they added McCole Hardman. You saw that. I mean, that gives them more speed.
I think they're going to sign Frank Clark too, so it'll be like the Kansas City last year again, I guess.
What's Miami going to add?
Miami's already going to get what's his name back, Jalen Ramsey. But also when you look at Kansas City, who's our pass rusher that we lost this year that went to them that they paid pretty good money? Why am I drawing a blank? Omenihu, yeah. Omenihu hasn't even played yet.
Right. No, I know. Yeah, so. He's a talent. He's a talented player. That's the who gets what at the deadline. The one thing about it is a lot of people are speculating there's going to be a lot of teams at the bottom of the league that may be aggressive in selling just simply because everybody wants Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Drake May, that these guys are such coveted quarterbacks. There might be some teams that are willing to sell,
where does Devontae Adams go? That's another one.
And the 49ers are a clear buyer. You know what? Bleacher Report had them in the running for Leonard Williams.